Good morning, grade 6. Okay, today we have to describe the relationship between the numbers in the top row and the bottom row in this table using letters. Now, I gave you an X and a Y each time. The X is for all of these input numbers, and the Y numbers are all of the output numbers. Okay, so we have to find the rule. We have to work out what happened from the 2 to the 6. How did I get from the 2 to a 6? How did I get from a 3 to a 9? And from a 4 to a 12? Now, whatever I did, it must be exactly the same for each set of numbers. So, if I look at this, if I increase from 2 to 6, I can only be plussing or timesing. So let's see. 2 plus 4 will give me 6. 3 plus 4, no. 4 plus 4, no, it doesn't work. So let's try something else. How do I get from a 2 to a 6? By timing, I can say 2 times 3 gives me 6. 3 times 3 gives me 9. 4 times 3 gives me 12. So that works. So my rule will be times 3. But now the question is, how do I use these numbers? How do I describe the relationship between that number and that number by using numbers? I do the following. I say, well, all of these numbers at the top, they are X numbers. So I said, I take the X value, I times it by 3 to get the Y value. X times 3 will give me Y. 3 times 3 will give me 9. 4 times 3 will give me 12. I do the same here. 10 times 3 will give me 30. And what happened to pattern number 40? 40 times 3, 120. Okay, so that's how you do it. If you want to rewrite it so that you start with the y equals 3x. 3x, when you have a 3 next to the x and there's nothing in between them, it implies that you've got to say 3 times x. X times 3 is the same as 3 times x. Okay, next one. Now, how did we get from a 2 to a 4, from a 3 to a 5, and from a 4 to a 6? Could be 2 times 2 gives me 4. 3 times 2, no, it doesn't work. 4 times 2, no, it doesn't work. Let's try something else. Multiplication didn't work. Let's go back to plus. 2 plus 2 gives me 4. 3 plus 2 gives me 5. 4 plus 2, yes, so my rule will be plus 2. Now I need to write it down so that it describes the relationship between the 3 and the 5. So I say, I take my x value, I plus 2, and then I get the y value. So let's do it there. Let's apply this rule. 10 plus 2 gives me 12. 40 plus 2 gives me 42. If I rewrite this, I say y equals x plus 2. Next one. How did I get from, okay, I never start by looking at 1 because sometimes that can be confusing. You can get different answers. So let's start with 2, and then when we are done, we go back to 1. How did I get from a 2 to a 7? Well, I can say 2 plus 5 will give me 7. Now 3 plus 5 must give me 10, and it doesn't, so it doesn't work. Next rule. Let's try 2 times 3 gives me 6. Plus 1 will give me 7. Okay, let's try times 3 plus 1. Maybe that will work here. 3 times 3, 9. Plus 1, 10. Yeah, that works. 4 times 3, 12. Plus 1, 13. Yes, it works. So my rule, this is my rule, times 3 plus 1. I have to write it in terms of the x and the y. So I'm going to write x, the numbers at the top, x times 3 plus 1 will give me y. If I rewrite that, I start with y. Y equals 3 times x plus 1. 3 times x, 3 times 10 gives me 30 plus 1, 31. 40 times 3 gives me 120 plus 1, 121. Okay, next one. Let's find the rule. What did I do to get from 2 to 3 plus 1? Oops, but that's plus 2 and that's plus 3, so it doesn't work. Let's try something else. 2 times 2 gives me 4, minus 1 will give me 3. So let's write that down. Let's see it. Times 2 minus 1. Let's try this one. 3 times 2 gives me 6, minus 1, 5. 4 times 2 gives me 8, minus 1, 7. Okay, so that works. My rule will be times 2 minus 1. Let me write that in terms of the relationship of x to y, and that will give me x, the x and the values at the top, times 2 minus 1 will give me the bottom values, the y values. If I rewrite that, I write y first. Y equals 2x minus 1. Next one. How did I get from 2 to 4, 3 to 9, 4 to 16? Okay, now here you had to recognize these numbers 1, 4, 9, 16. We call these squared numbers. Why? Because if that's a square and that side is 1 and that side is 1, 1 times 1 gives me 1. If I have a square and that is 2 centimeters and that is 2 centimeters, this value will be 4. If I have a square, that value 3, that one 3, this will be 9. 1, 4, 9. 1, 4, 9. These are all squared numbers. So this number, if I have to write this in terms of x and y, I will say x times x will give me y. X times x will give me y. And if I rewrite that, that will be y equals x times x will be x squared. That's how you write x squared. 10 times 10, 100. 40 times 40, 4 times 4, 16. How many zeros? 2. That's it. Okay, guys. I think that was a mouthful. We never finished this one. 10 times 2, 20 minus 1, 19. 40 times 2, 80 minus 1, 79. There we go. That's it for today. Have a lovely day, guys. I'll see you again. Bye.